It feels amazing. These are the best guys in the world, and I've been through some grueling sudden death rounds. For me to make it to the championship was one thing, and then for me to be the champion, it's awesome to know that I can do it. That's the main thing it was for me today. I mean, I made some clutch decisions at the end of the day and put some of those key fish in the boat. It holds a special place in me right now, and I can't wait to celebrate.
Bobby, at the conclusion of the first period, you only had 5 pounds and 14 ounces. What was going through your head during the 30-minute break?
You know, after that first period, you're right, I only had 5 pounds, but now I had lost four of my first fish to bed. It was kind of a frustrating morning. And I'm not sure if they were eating the bait real well or I was just missing them, but I was very disappointed, and I said, at the end of the first round, we had about 20 minutes to go, I said, I'm gonna go fish a few docks that I haven't seen anybody on. And first dock I caught a 2-pounder, and then I caught a little one. I said, okay, get to break, regroup, retie, get what you need to fish docks, because if you don't go fish docks, you're gonna get your butt kicked. So on that 30-minute break, I went and retied and got ready to go dock fishing, because I knew that these guys haven't covered all the docks yet, and I was excited to get back out there and ready. I had no idea I was gonna catch that many once the second round started, but it got my confidence up and got me right back where I wanted to be.
You mentioned that you fished on the docks after that. Tell us what the baits that you're using, and go into as much detail as you can for us on the rest of the day, what you used and how you did it.
Till the end?
Yeah,
Okay,
the rest of
okay.
the day. What was the best pattern?
Well, you know, so, yeah, you're right, I left into the second round, and on my morning run-through, we had 30 minutes this morning, and I came down, it seemed like the fish were keying on docks that weren't choked up with grass all around them. Not grass under the water, but we call it Kissimmee grass that grows down the shoreline. If it was all around the docks, it was hard to get under, and it didn't seem like you could get the bites. If you got under a clean dock, you could get a bite. Now, it might be 12 inches, it might be 2 pounds, but all I was doing was taking Abu Garcia 7-foot and a Revo reel, 17-pound fluorocarbon, and I was just putting a 3/16 weight on it. I was flipping a Havoc bottom hopper, June bug, and my goal was, if I caught one off one dock and it was like the first pitch, I would always go back to that dock again. So I go blazing out that second period. Ran to this new stretch of docks. The first one I come to, I catch like a 2.5 pounder. The next flip under that dock, I catch another one. I go to the next dock and I catch 2 more. I flip a little bit of grass in front of me and I catch another one. I mean, it is on time. I made another, and as I went down, I might have caught 5 or 6 fish, and it got me into the lead at one point. Then I made another pass through there and I lost a nice fish, about a 2-pounder. Caught another short fish and then lost another fish. And then I turned back around and fished it all again, and I didn't catch any, and I'm like, okay, let's run around, hit some more docks. So I left there and ran around the corner. Mark Davis was on a stretch of docks that I wanted to fish, so I went up around the point, and I didn't see no boats, and I said, no boats, so I said, let's fish in here. And I think I caught 1 or 2 in there, and then in between there was a junk mat, and I pitched a 1-ounce weight in there. I was throwing a Havoc Pit Boss in there, just black and blue. Flipped that in there on 65-pound braid, caught that fish. It was like 1.5 pounds. Had like 5 minutes to go. At this time, Mark Rose has 16 pounds, Edwin has 16 pounds, and I'm at 14 pounds. And it's the end of the second period. So I come in from break, ate an amazing lunch real quick, retied 3 more dock rods, and I told myself, when I was making my run through, I saw a stretch of docks that had 2 canals in between them. So I said, I'm gonna run to those 5 docks, fish those. If those don't work, I'm gonna pick up my frog and I'm gonna go frog the back of these canals. So I went to the first 4 docks, and they had the grass was like all chewed up around them, like a trolling motor had just been there prior to the 3rd round. And they were good looking docks. So I fished them. I didn't get any, and I went in this canal, and I got about almost all the way to the end, and then it just turned into duckweed on both sides of the canal. You could go further, but the bubbles were coming up. But right before I got there, there was an old shade tree. I'll never forget it, and it had a little seawall on it. So I pitched the frog up to it, worked it about 4 times, and about 1.5 pounds ate it. Caught that fish, put him in the box, dropped the power poles immediately, or didn't put him in the box, got the fish weighed, let him go, pitched over there again and caught like a 2.5 pounder, and I'm like, wow, threw to the other side and I lost one. So my confidence is building a little bit. Now I'm up in the, I took the lead at that point. Well then, as I was going out of that canal, Mark Rose had moved up to 21 pounds and I'm at 18 pounds, and I'm in second. So I left that and I went to the next canal that I saw. It was a little short dead-end canal. I fished down it, didn't get a bite, and on the way back, it was one of the coolest bites I'd ever seen. It was a big old tree in the middle and it had a little slime mat in it, and there was no way to cast to it. You couldn't literally cast, so I just pitched the frog over there. I popped it about 3 times on that slime mat, man, and it just flushed it, and it was like 1.75 pounds. So now I'm at like 20 pounds, and Mark Rose is at 22 or 23 pounds. And I looked on the GPS, and there was a canal across the very end of the lake, and it goes in, and it made a hard left, and it had another canal that went to made a hard right, and then it made another jog to the left. And I said, I'm going to go down the main part of this canal. And I've been in the canal, but it was 5 years ago, and I never caught anything. So I'm in there, and I'm frogging the docks, and I lose one. And then I catch a short, and then I catch a keeper, and then I catch another keeper. And now I'm at like 21 pounds, and Mark Rose is at 25 pounds. And as I get to the end of this canal system, it's like it was meant for me to win. Across from the dock side, the docks are on the left going in. Across from there is nothing but cattails and lily pads. There was literally a 100-yard stretch that had some salvia growing in it, like duckweed. And it had like elm trees growing over it. It was it was just 100 yards of it. Everything else was like 5 foot, and it was just trash, and there was no way to get anything up behind it. It was like a solid wall. And I got over there, and I was fixing to leave, to be honest, and I was gonna go out of that canal, and he said, you have 38 minutes to fish, or whatever it is, and I said, well, let me go over here. I'm all the way back here. It's gonna take me 15 minutes to get out of here. I really need to catch a couple of good fish, and I got myself right back in. The first mat I came to over there, skipped the frog up under a tree, popped it a few times, one blew up on it, I missed him, skipped it back in there, I knew he'd eat it again. Caught it, it was like 1.5 pounds. 3 casts later, caught another one. 10 casts later, caught a 4 pounder. 5 casts later, caught a 2 pounder. Turned the boat back around, came back down that stretch again, lost about a 3.5 pounder, but my frog had actually, when it skipped, it went up over a limb and landed in a perfect spot, and the fish ate it, and I hiked him over the branch and he came off. Well, then I make the turn and I go back down the bank. They say, Bobby Lane, you're at 29 pounds, Mark Rose is at 25 pounds, you have 5 minutes to go. And I'm like, man, I don't want to give Mark any opportunities to catch me. I mean, every round I was in, somebody caught a 5 pounder, 6 pounder, 7 pounder. I know it's any minute. There's a chance to catch another one. And I went to this, it was my last cast. I skipped this frog up into a mat, and I popped it a few times, and I saw the mat lift up and go back down. And I popped it one more time, man, and she just flushed it. I flipped the fish in the boat. I think it weighed 2 pounds, 2 ounces. Put me at 31 pounds. Mark was still at 25. So now I know he's got to catch a 6 pounder in 2 minutes, or 2 threes, or 5 ones, and then the math started going, and excitement started building, and before you know it, he said, period's over, Bobby Lane, you're the Rotella Cup champion. So, clutch decisions. I knocked Kevin Van Dam out yesterday, or in our sudden death challenge, I knocked Kevin Van Dam out with a frog. At the very end, I was running out of things to do, and I went in this canal, caught 2 key fish on a frog. Kevin, I just knew was gonna hit the cut weight, and he didn't. And that's what got me to throw in the frog again this afternoon. I had no idea I'd be sitting here as your champion, but I sure am glad to be.
Bobby, what did you learn from the 2 previous rounds that you competed in this week?
You know, all 3 rounds for me this week have been an absolute roller coaster. From the first lake we went to, it was spinnerbait and it was pitching cypress trees. From the second and sudden death round, it was a little bit of spinnerbait in the morning, and then it was flipping docks, and then at the very end it was catching them on a frog. Today on the lake there was no cypress trees, there was no spinnerbait bite. It was frog a canal and then go skip docks and then flip some grass. What I learned about Florida this week in the middle of October is You really need about 5 to 10 rods on your boat at all times. Keep an open mind and don't ever think those fish can get too shallow, because I caught some in some trash that I would have never guessed a bass lived in. And it was gut instincts and making the right decisions and keeping an open mind. And during the breaks, the 30-minute breaks, retying all your rod and reels, because every fish counts in Major League Fishing, and that's what got it done this week.
Bobby, we had 30 of the world's best anglers here this week. How good does it feel to be all of them?
You know, to be the champion over the 30 best anglers it's about time. I've been through some hard sudden death rounds, I think I mentioned that before, but I was ready to be a champion, and it was weird. For some reason, as this year's gone on, through the Elite Series, through the Opens, through other Major League Fishing events, the number 111 would pop up. I'd see it on my clock, I'd see it on my radio, or it'd be on XM, or it would be on when I pay for some bubble gum or whatever it was. The number 111, and I'm like, that's got to be a sign. That's got to be a sign. Somewhere down the road, I got to win an event, and I never thought about that today until that question was just asked. But it means a lot. It lets me know that my fishing's where it needs to be, that I can beat the best guys in the world, and no matter where we're at. And just because I'm from Florida, this was probably one of the most roller coaster rides I've ever had in my life. But if I keep my head in it, I know I got the ability to beat all of them.
This is your 9th MLF Cup event, and it's your first trip into the finals. Does that point out just how tough the competition and format of MLF really is?
This is the 9th Major League Cup event. It took me 3 or 4 of them just to be able to learn how to fish MLF Cup events. My nickname on the Bassmasters is Big Fish Bobby Lane. I normally catch big fish. If you target big fish in Major League Fishing, you're going to get your butt kicked. I have been 1 and 1.5 and 2 pound to death by a lot of these guys, and it is so frustrating, because I'm thinking, wow, I caught a 5-pounder. Well, it doesn't matter, because they just caught 10 1-pounders. It took me a while to learn the format. It was so nice in my first elimination round to 1 to 1.5 pound those guys to death. So this is the coolest way to fish. I have a tournament next week, so I got to forget about the 1 and 1.5 pounders and get back to catching the big ones. But I think it's all coming together. I think I put the tournaments aside and know what I got to do to advance to sudden death, or just to get as many points as you can. We've started a point system, and all that adds up. So, you know, to be the championship, to win a round, this has been one of the most amazing weeks ever.
Bobby, did you get any penalties championship round?
I did pick up a penalty in championship round. It was the last fish I caught, and we had 2.5 minutes to go. I caught the fish, and when I got it in, it either came off the hook or I just let it on the floor. I don't remember, but it was a nice one. It was like a 2-2, and I picked up a penalty for that. Now I did assess 3 penalties in my first round, and I assessed a penalty or 2 in yesterday's sudden death round. So yeah, I had 5 or 6 penalties all week.
Major League Fishing event operations works extremely hard to present the anglers with a very even playing field. Do you have any comments on that?
Yeah, you know, this is as good as it gets. I can honestly say that all anglers that fished all week long, this is as fair as it gets. You're in a truck in the morning, you get handed a map at the lake, you don't know where you're at, what boat ramp, if there's a zone, or, you know, it's all new. I think the playing field is as fair as it possibly could ever be. I think Major League Fishing has done an amazing job keeping secrets from us as anglers on where we're going, what we're doing, how to approach things. It's always neat when we get the email and it says here. Okay, and then you show up, and then they take you over somewhere completely different. It's as fair as it gets, and it is the best way to run an event is Major League Fishing.